Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you have a Capricorn Moon or a heavy Capricorn house in your natal chart, this video is for you because we want to talk about the Saturn Pluto conjunction happening in Capricorn and how it affects your life and how you can work with these energies to feel relief and not detriment. So a lot of people talk about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, and obviously it's a big event in astrology. We can already feel the effects, and it already started in 2019 and probably already affected your life because the final point of Saturn and Pluto meeting is, as I said before, the final point. But we feel the effects way before that because the sooner Saturn and Pluto come together, the more the energy is amplified and we can feel that collectively. And that's why so many things started to crumble and to happen and shifts happened in 2019. It was literally a preparation for us. So I invite you, especially now, towards the end of the year, start of the new decade, to reflect on your life and everything that happened in 2019 to understand what your theme is with this Saturn and Pluto conjunction. And I wanted to especially touch on those people that have a Capricorn Moon because I feel like that's a freaking heavy transit to experience, having Saturn, who is really restrictive, really showing you the boundaries, really wanting you to understand core lessons for your existence in this world, right? And all of that will obviously, as a Capricorn Moon, relate to your emotional world, your inner world, the deepest, most vulnerable parts that you have. And obviously that's not easy, right? And I have a Capricorn Moon, and let me tell you, 2019 has been the most transformative year of my life, but also the most wounded year of my life, and really vulnerable, and a lot of dark times and all of that. And even though I'm a Sag rising, I had trouble with keeping my faith and keeping my optimism at times, just because it's so heavy to have Saturn on top of your moon. Because there were times and days where I would just wake up and feel heavy for no reason, and I couldn't even explain it other than looking at the transit chart and seeing that Saturn is sitting on top of my moon and that this might be the reason, right? But then it's a matter of taking inventory and understanding what Saturn really wants you to see and understand, because the only reason why he holds you back, why he sets you aside from normal life, why he isolates you sometimes even, is so you understand more about your inner world, your inner self. And that's especially true for everyone with a Capricorn Moon at the moment. And I think that can be a blessing, especially because Pluto is also in Capricorn, right? Pluto helps us to transform old emotional patterns, old emotional cycles, old belief systems that we are so emotionally attached to, right? All of that. And obviously your house placement is a big part of the whole story as well. It's not just you having the moon in Capricorn that tells you a story about how you really act out emotionally. It's also about the house placement. I can say from my own experience, I have Capricorn in the second house, meaning a lot of my emotional world is linked to finances, self-worth, and all of that, and how I value myself. And that's not easy as well. And having Saturn and Pluto in whatever house means that this house will be really challenged at the moment. Really challenged. It's where you right now see your own boundaries. It's where right now you are really set aside, maybe even isolated, as I mentioned before. People go out of your life, especially if, for example, your Capricorn house is the 7th house. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you have relationships ending, if things just crumble and you feel completely shattered. Well, it's not something you should be scared of. It's literally for you, the lesson is to learn how you can take care of yourself. One main relief point is understanding the polarity between Cancer and Capricorn in that moment, because that's how you can find relief. That's how you can really escape from the heaviness. Because when Saturn is placed in Capricorn, it means that you have to understand more about the highest expression of Capricorn and also implement the polar opposite sign of Cancer, right? Because Cancer can let you feel, especially as a Capricorn moon, right? Moon is like the ruling planet of Cancer, and this polarity tells you that you have to understand on a core emotional level how you nurture yourself, aside from being productive, aside from, achieving things. You don't have to achieve something in order to nurture yourself. That's the core lessons behind that. And I felt that so hard, probably also because, as I said before, I have the moon in the second house. So the whole achieving part, the whole, finances and all of that is definitely amplified in my case. But I know that for you as a Capricorn moon, it will be similar, that you might escape into, productivity, achieving things in order to feel emotionally safe and secure. But deep down inside, you feel that this is not the core solution for your emotional emptiness. It's really implementing the nurturing part of Cancer into your daily life, so you can find a relief. And that's what Saturn tries to tell you and tries to teach you. And the most amazing thing about that is that we obviously still have the collective North Node in Cancer on the opposite side, right? So us Capricorn moons, we really have to understand what emotions are all about and how we can allow ourselves to feel them, right? That's where the whole Pluto part comes into play, where Pluto helps us to destroy all the old patternings, all the old ways how we coped with emotions. And for a lot of Capricorn moons, coping with emotions just means suppressing them and falling into, the whole old patterning and programming of just achieving something, and that might be a band-aid for your emotional world, but deep down inside you still feel empty. And that's what I personally had to learn, and what I'm still learning. It's definitely a process, and just because you know these lessons doesn't mean that you instantly click and you instantly are able to implement them. It's a journey, and you have to allow yourself to slowly integrate them into your life. And obviously it never means that you completely have to go the opposite way and being a Cancer moon or whatever. No, it's literally coming into the highest expression of a Capricorn moon. You have such a drive and such a willpower of achieving things. But what if you would achieve something from an emotional level as well, right? Integrating your emotions into whatever you want to achieve. Because that's when we are vulnerable, but also when we are authentic, right? And that's how we find closeness with other people too. And I think that's a core lesson for everyone with a Capricorn moon, to understand that our emotions are not something we have to suppress, that we can actually use them to achieve even more, right? Even more connection, even more impact, even more closeness with other people. And Capricorn wants to be the boss of the zodiac, right? But what if you would be the boss of the zodiac also in an emotional way, right? Being vulnerable. Because I feel like vulnerability and owning your emotions, being really true and open, that's when you are a boss. Because that's when people get respect and they really, really see your strength. And that's something obviously Capricorn moons have to learn, that showing our emotions is actually so strong. It's so strong, and we tend to forget that. It's not just the things that we achieve that make us the boss and make us a leader or make us whatever. No, it's actually also owning our own truth, right? Which obviously, as a Sag rising, I'm all about finding your truth. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that message across, because yesterday was actually the day when Saturn was sitting on top of Venus, and it was one of my dark moments, I guess, also because it's conjunct my moon. So I had all of the heaviness on top of everything in my second house, and obviously the second house is also related to money, which Venus is also related to money. So all of these topics came up, and all of a sudden, and I promise you, I've never had any issues with anxiety before, but having Saturn close to my moon, on top of my moon, in my second house in general, in Capricorn, ever since I know and I understand what anxiety is all about on such a core level. And it's crazy, because most of these fears that we feel with Saturn are so irrational, but because as a Capricorn moon, they are so closely tied to your emotional world, your inner world, it's scary. And some days that means that you even run away from, sitting with yourself, from being present with yourself, because you just want to escape, right? You just want to escape. And depending on the year you've born, maybe you also have Neptune and Uranus in Capricorn. And especially with Neptune in Capricorn, the whole escapism can be amplified. Neptune loves to escape, right? But that's not the solution. And sometimes the solution is to allow yourself to feel, to be present with yourself. And that in itself will be such a core relief, and you will get so many insights. And that's what I did. I actually allowed myself to have a big ass journaling session about the whole topic. And I got so many insights about the themes and the patterns that I have related to my Capricorn moon. For the first time, I even realized that I was projecting emotional safety, especially because it's in my second house, onto my partners, right? How partners provide me with money or whatever. That's what I guess defined as emotional safety and security. But that's not real emotional connection, right? It's not. It's just because my moon is acting up. But what if I could implement more Cancer energy in my emotional world, right? Taking care of myself, nurturing myself in all the ways, not just financially, not just, being present, but also emotionally, being present with my emotions, all of that. And I think that's a big, big lesson that we as Capricorn moons are here to learn right now. And that's a lesson that we learn collectively as well, right? Not just for us in our personal life, but it's something that we have to also bring into the world. Because when we open the conversation about that, and that comes from a Capricorn who usually doesn't really love to talk about emotions, well, that's when we own it, right? When we make it a new normal conversation. And that's how we as Capricorns feel safe again. And yeah, that's so interesting, because most of the time we just don't come from a family or background where emotions were a safe thing to talk about. And that's where all of our patterns come from, right? We just put a band-aid on our emotions by achieving things because that's what makes us feel safe and secure. But deep down inside, it also exhausts us, right? Having to be productive all the time. And sometimes, with the Capricorn moon, it's never enough. That's the thing. It's never enough. It's never enough, no matter how much you have on your to-do list and how much you can cross out of your to-do list. You always feel like you could achieve more, you could do more, there could be more. And that's where Cancer really comes into play. So you can be at home, sit with yourself. Even now the light comes in, right? The light comes in by seeing and feeling your emotions. It's so important that you understand that, because that's the whole lesson behind Saturn and Pluto. And once you master that, you are free. You are so free. And that's when you can start the new decade with such a light in your heart and in your emotional world, and such a deep connection to your own inner world as well. And I truly believe that this is, for us Capricorn moons, one of the biggest lessons that we ever learn in this life, in our journey. Because what's more important than your inner world? Your inner, true, authentic essence, your emotional body, all of that. That's where the wounding lies, but that's also where your magic lies. So having Saturn and Pluto traveling over that will really, really help you to find the authentic part and the authentic core essence of your soul. Because emotions are so tied up to your heart center, and your heart center is the connection to the universe, to your highest expression. That's why I think it's so important for us Capricorn moons to see where we have to let go of these old structures and old ways, and where, maybe Saturn even teaches us that we have boundaries when it comes to productivity, and sometimes even achieving everything won't lead to success, just because ultimate success is found within. As quirky as it sounds, but it's true, right? And I just wanted to upload this video and share my own personal experience being a Capricorn moon with this transit that is still going on, obviously, in 2019 and 2020. We will work with this energy for a long time, especially because Pluto will remain in Capricorn for a while. Saturn will move on to Aquarius. Maybe you even have to face your Saturn return, or you also had your Saturn return on top of all of that, on all of the craziness, right? That's why it's so important to understand what it's all about. And I hope I got you some insights and courage to face your emotions, to sit with yourself, to be present with yourself, to free yourself. That's the ultimate way. Literally, if you are curious about that, dive into the polarity between Cancer and Capricorn. That will be a huge relief. Seek support. Don't do everything yourself. If you would fancy a reading with me, I would love to support you along your journey as well. Just reach out to me and we can book a session for you to support you in the best way possible in the new decade. I'm so excited to see you shine and to see you embrace your emotions, because as Capricorn moons, we have to implement them into our productivity, daily routine, and all of that. Maybe even in our career. That's how we change the world, by embracing them and by being the boss about our emotions as well, right? So I'm excited to have a conversation in the comments about your Capricorn placements. Let me know if you are Sun, Moon, Rising, or you have other planets in Capricorn. I would love to know how the Saturn Pluto conjunction really affected your life so far. Let me know down below, and I hope to see you really soon here on this channel, on Instagram at Magic Kathi Official, or on my podcast, The Magic Kathi Show, where I also share insights about the full and the new moons and all of that. So yeah, don't miss out on that, because all I want to do is helping you step in your magic.